Do you guys like? Have you ever gotten like emotionally attached or like scared or
Yeah.
anything on those lines in
Definitely.
in a game?
Scared, 100%. Emotionally attached is rarer, but still definitely.
Hmm.
Definitely to both of those. Have I ever told the story of how I almost threw up while I was playing that game with Justin? I definitely have, but if you remember that
Oh,
What is
story.
that game?
the co-op ghost game?
Yeah, yeah, we were here, and it's not
Yeah.
even like that scary of a game except for the one section, but I was not expecting it to be scary at all cuz like the worst that had happened to me up to that point was like, oh, there were some dark corridors and it was kind of spooky looking. And it's like a, to explain to people listening, it's a co-op game where you work together to solve puzzles, and each character has um, access to different information. So I was mostly the person who was just relaying information to Justin, who was the other player, and was like actually navigating mazes and stuff. And he was like, "Oh, something like is moving in the corner of my screen and stuff." But I was like, "Ah, whatever, it's probably fine." And then we get to the last puzzle, and I walk into this theater, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is interesting." Um, and then I go on the stage, and then like this creepy voice um, starts talking, and then we realize that it sort of switched. Like Justin has access to a bunch of levers that move things on the stage, and basically the idea of the puzzle is that you need to uh, reenact whatever the voice is saying. And so I was like, okay, this is not that bad. It's just kind of like a creepy dark theater and whatever. And then I turn around to like the entrance where I came from, and there's this giant like puppet with like glowing eyes hanging there.
Oh
And I actually
no.
wasn't that scared initially because I was like, okay, whatever. They're just trying to be scary. And then so then we turn back around and start trying to solve the puzzle again. And then it's like not working and whatever. And then I turn around again and it's closer. And I was like, oh god. And then
Yep.
yeah, and then uh, that made it really difficult to solve the puzzle because I was like panicking the whole time. And then yeah, and then it just kept closer and closer, and I felt like I was gonna throw up, so I left. Um, I just like got up and left. And then I came back later to like the game over screen once I didn't feel like I was gonna throw up anymore. And then we did not ever finish that game. So
Nice.
Yeah. I think games, because of how immersive games can be, like, it's very easy for a game to scare you with just sort
mhm.
of creepy lighting or like interacting with objects that surprise you, like you turn around and the puppet's closer and stuff like that.
I
I
think music has like the biggest impact on scaring people
Yeah, music
in
and sound
games.
design definitely. I was thinking of
Yeah.
the game Alien Isolation, which is
Mm-hmm.
a
I
full-on
would never
horror
play that
game.
game.
Yeah, but it's so well done, mostly because of the noises of like
Yeah.
there's this giant alien crawling around the vents, and you have to figure out where it is by just like listening to it, and also you have a little like motion sensor basically that will put a little dot on the screen over everything that's moving, and it's just
Hmm.
such a terrifying experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's similar for like movies too, because like if you turn off the sound for like a horror movie or a game that's supposed to be
Oh yeah,
in the
it
horror
cripples it.
genre, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Um, I think I've had like jump scares in games before, but I've never been like truly scared by a game.
Mm.
Um, like I've definitely jumped at something like popping out, but it wasn't like truly terrifying. But I haven't played many like supposed to be terrifying games, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently
On
finished Amori, which I may have mentioned earlier because I got my sister to play it just now. And
Mhm.
that's labeled psychological horror on Steam. But it wasn't that scary. But I think part of that, like, there were just parts that were scary. But part of that is because I played it on a call with my friends. So,
Mm.
like, some of the scariest parts, then, like, someone would be, like, yelling at me to, like, where to go. Because otherwise I would just, like, freeze up. um,
Yeah.
but I think that also sort of dampened my attachment to the characters because it's like a very emotional story, and I feel like I definitely could have had a very strong emotional reaction to things that happen in the story, but I kind of didn't. Even though I sort of acknowledged like, oh wow, things are happening. This is really good. In other games, I've like definitely cried a lot.
Yeah.
Versus this one, no. But I feel like I definitely maybe should have. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been like emotionally attached to a game.
Have you
Yeah,
ever
well,
been emotionally attached to like a book?
I think there's probably been books where like it made me think a little bit more because like I think with books it's different because like you can place your own visuals in, and for me a lot of the times that's like my own life. You know what I mean? Like I place a lot of like characters and like resemblances. So I think that's a little bit different in because of what it makes me think about. But in terms of the story itself, I don't think I've ever been like read something and been immediately like distraught.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue to just rather than scary games that will emotionally affect you. The first thing that comes to mind for me is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which is just sort of an all-around beautiful game with beautiful art and music. And like I don't think it happened the first time I ever played it, but now if I just go to the main menu of that game, my tears will start to well up in my eyes.
That's nice.
Is that like have any like Scottish orientation or anything, or like what is it?
Oh, it's a Metroidvania, so it's like a little platform adventure game where you play as a little forest spirit as they're trying to reunite with their best friend. And it's just such a simple, it feels like a Pixar or a Studio Ghibli movie or something. And just like it's this really simple story with really like non-human characters, but it's so heart-rending.
Yeah. I just know like I asked if it was Scottish because I know that like there's a whole storyline thing in their culture about like wisps and like guiding them to like their goals or like true meaning of life or something like that.
Yeah.
I just remember that from like probably a Disney like animation or something.
Yeah,
but
there might be some like folklore that it's taking from, but it doesn't seem overtly really any ethnicity or anything.
Gotcha.
I definitely really enjoyed that game. I did cry at the end, but I don't think I was super attached into the story, which I know, but you cried at the end. Well, I do that a lot. So the beginning of the first game is like, just the first cutscene is super sad. But then after that, it's sort of like, eh. And then it was sort of reverse from the for the second game, which I won't give any spoilers, but like something happened to make me sad in the middle, and I was just kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
I wasn't really attached to like characters and stuff. Versus other games where it's like more about the story. I've definitely been more attached to the different characters.
Yeah.
Is there a standout for you, Will, like one game that you were especially attached to?
Well, the one that made that made me the most heart wrenching or whatever was Danganronpa V3.
Ooh.
But I won't talk about that much more because we are currently playing through it and we finished the first chapter, which is part of the reason why I like it so much.
Yeah, I really like Danganronpa. I think I like it more because of the way that we play through it. Like, I don't know if I played it alone, like from start, any of the versions. I don't think that I would have been as invested as I am.
Yeah.
In us playing it the way that we do.
Yeah, maybe.
Probably, I would say like my favorite game story that I got the most attached to was probably To the Moon, which is why, again, it's one of my favorite games, even though it's barely a game. It's just really like beautiful and kind of sort of down to earth story. It's got some wackiness, but there's not really much to it besides the story. You just sort of walk around and collect memories, and then cutscenes play. And the graphics are like not good. It's in RPG Maker, but just the story is so well crafted that it's just amazing.
Nice. Yeah, I don't, even if I've had like an emotional like feeling towards like a game or a show or a book or anything like that, I've definitely nothing's ever made me cry. It's really hard for me to become like I can be invested in a game, but it's really hard for me to like consider it not a game and be like invested in the characters in a way that's gonna make me cry or feel like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I guess again, when I was little, I read a ton of books, and then I would get super attached to them, and then I really liked like really melodramatic stuff where people would die and stuff. Like the series Redwall would always kill off like main and supporting characters because all the books were separate and sort of took place like through generations and stuff, which is a really cool series, but I won't go into it now because that's not the topic of the podcast. But they would just kill off characters, and that would be really sad, but in sort of a cathartic way. Like my favorite musical, I looked up reviews of it, and one of them said it was too depressing. Like the first result was like, this is a good musical, but it's way too depressing, like you shouldn't watch it.
What musical?
Next to Normal.
Oh.
Yeah. So I guess that carries over into games.